With a completely new region comes a new MC element and just new path in general, I guess. Right now, we are experiencing yet another crazy powerful main character in Honkai Star Rail. Remembrance MC is very strong and has the potential to continue being even stronger when more characters come out. My name is Braxophone, but you can call me Brax, and today we're taking a look at Remembrance MC on the Creator Experience server. Honestly, guys, the endgame content in this game has gotten significantly more difficult with the DPS checks. They have increased the HP on many things, including Memory of Chaos, Pure Fiction, and Apocalyptic Shadow. All of the endgame modes are much more difficult than they used to be. That doesn't mean they're impossible, but it does mean that you're not going to be doing 1 and 2 cycles as frequently as you may have used to. And if you're 0 cycling, you're probably going to need Eidolons. But luckily for us, you don't need to clear in 1 or 2 cycles to clear the content. It just means it's a little less forgiving, and thus the showcases aren't going quite as well. And for a character like Remembrance MC, who we're still waiting for the perfect characters for, she may not have a lot of perfect synergies right now, but she works really damn well. She is also our very first Remembrance character that's playable, and she does have a memo sprite. I'm saying she because I'm looking at Stell, but you know, this applies to both Stell and male Stell. So what does Remembrance MC actually do? Well, I'll tell you all about it, but first you just gotta know that everything in this video is subject to change. These are just my first impressions of the character, and because it's on the Creator Experience server, this is an early version of Remembrance MC. So there is a possibility that some things could change. But with that said, we should be able to look at the main bulk of what she does. So let's just get right into it. Before I go into the showcase, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know which light cone we're using, which is going to be Victory in a Blink. This is the new craftable Remembrance light cone, and it is crazy good value. Increases the wearer's crit damage by 24% at S5. And then when your memo sprite uses an ability on an ally target, it increases all ally targets damage by 16%. And then we're also using Sprightly Vunwalk just to make sure she goes first and can summon her memo sprite immediately, as well as Hero of Triumph and Song, which is an attack buff, as well as a speed increase for characters that have memo sprites. And it also increases crit damage of the wearer and the memo sprite by 30% for 2 turns. This is actually important to Remembrance MC. This isn't necessarily the set you always have to run, but it is important. And then because this is actually a support character that has some crit share, we are going with crit damage, HP, energy regen, and speed. We are Eidolon 6, and I will go over what those do afterwards. So let's get on into it. All right, so here we are in Pure Fiction. The main reason I'm using this game mode is because one of Remembrance MC's best partners at the moment is actually Argenti, and I will get into that in just a moment. We're also playing Huohuo and Tingyun, and the reason we're playing them is because we want to funnel as much energy as possible. All right, so here we are. What does Remembrance MC actually do? Well, first off, I'm going to go ahead and summon Mem. Basically, if you don't have Mem up, first, Mem is the little fox thing that's in the, I'll just show you here. Actually, I don't even know what animal that is. Basically, at the start of every single battle, unless you're doing some crazy tech, you basically just always want to use your skill, so that way you can summon Mem immediately. Mem is your memo sprite, and you can actually switch between them. They have their own separate like description and abilities and their own individual stats, which is kind of cool. Now, once Mem is on the field, the skill will just restore Mem's max HP. Usually you don't really have to do this, but if you do, just use skill. It'll also grant Mem 10 charge, but this 10% is actually 13% because Mem actually gains 1 charge for every 10 energy gained by allies. Now, what's charge for? Let me explain. So Mem's charge is to the right of Mem's little portrait here. It's at 93%. Basically, once Mem gets to 100% charge, Mem will be able to target an ally and bring their action forward by 100%, allowing them to instantly act. There are other buffs to that as well, but they're featured on Mem's profile here. When the ally gets action forward, it grants them a buff for 3 turns. That makes it so that whenever they dish out damage, they also deal an instance of true damage. And this does not work probably how you think it does, which is honestly, in my opinion, it's a little annoying because I was expecting this to just be like, oh, okay, just ignores resistance and stuff. No, basically what true damage is just a second instance of your damage with a multiplier that it has on it. So like if you did 100 damage, your true damage, you do 30 true damage with that. If you do 100,000 damage, you're doing an extra 30k true damage with this 30% multiplier. But something I didn't get into is also the fact that Mem gives your allies a crit damage buff, and it's a pretty hefty crit damage buff. It's based on Mem's crit damage, and Mem's crit damage is based on your Trailblazer's crit damage before you enter battle. And also if you're getting a crit buff from like a technique or something, that should also apply. But like I said, this is the CE server, so it's possible that changes to launch because we've had things like that happen before. But anyways, Mem is going to be able to share a bunch of crit damage. Right now, Harmony Trailblazer has 268. Mem also has 268. So basically your whole team gets a ton of crit damage, and if you're running double DPS teams like a Herda team with 2 erudition, they both can benefit from that, as well as Harmony and Remembrance Trailblazer also being able to benefit from that crit damage as well, because they do have an ultimate that does damage. Mem also has their own actions as well. If we go back to the Trailblazers descriptions, Mem actually has an initial speed of 130, and they have their own actions that they take. It's just that if they don't have 100 charge, rather than skilling an ally and bringing them forward, Mem will just attack the enemies and dish out some damage. It's not that insane, but you know, it's extra damage and all that. But basically the easiest way to put this is that Remembrance Trailblazer is sort of like another version of Bronya, except you can't exactly just speed tune them and have them work out that way. The problem with Remembrance Trailblazer and Mem is that because Mem is getting charged based on your ally's energy gain, things can change based on the content you're in so drastically. For example, if you're against enemies that are fighting really fast, like if they have really high speed and they're constantly just hitting you, Mem gets a lot of charge from that because Mem is gaining based on their energy. If you have teammates that generate a ton of energy, then Mem also is gonna get a ton more energy. Now, as for Remembrance Trailblazer's ultimate, this one summons Mem if for some reason Mem is gone. 2, it does damage to all enemies, and 3, it gives 40 charge to Mem immediately. So using this knowledge, you can actually force Mem to action forward another character and give them the true damage buff. Now, there are a couple more things to know about Mem. It is mostly just based on major traces. First off, when Mem is summoned, they immediately get 50% charge, which is nice. Also, when Mem attacks and their priority comes up and they hit the enemies, you get 5 charge. And the last one is really big. Basically, for every 10 energy an ally has above 100 energy in their max energy pool, you're gaining an extra 2% true damage multiplier, which means for characters that do have 200 max energy, you can actually get a total of 50% true damage, which means if you do 100k, you're doing 150k. You do a mil, you're doing 1.5 mil. It is a lot of extra damage that you kind of get for free. So anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and show you how this goes. I'm gonna apologize in advance because honestly, keeping up with all of the best decision making when all of this energy gain is so random is very difficult, but we're gonna give it our best shot. So let's do this thing. First off, just gonna give Argenti the Tingyun ultimate. Then I'm going to skill Argenti, and immediately Argenti's gonna move forward because of Mem, which doesn't really help us at all. But you know, it's just because Mem started with 50 charge, so it is what it is. We move Argenti forward, and I'm actually going to ult with him without it being maxed out, just so I don't like overcap on energy here. And because it'll do a ton of damage. And then I'm gonna do it again because I have a bunch more energy because they all perished. There we go. Now we're gonna skill. Now we have our ult. And we'll pop it again. Argenti's so fun in Pure Fiction. Genuinely so fun in Pure Fiction. Especially when you have buffs like that. 1 million damage is crazy, by the way. Holy. All right, we're already on the second wave. We haven't even gotten to 3 yet. So I'm going to go ahead and skill here. I'm not going to skill on Remembrance MC because we don't need to. And I would like to have healing up on Ho-Ho. So we're going to do that. And then Remembrance MC, you can basically just basic attack. As long as Mem isn't just getting absolutely decimated, you can basic attack. I think this makes Remembrance MC overall an SP positive support character, which is really nice to have, which also means that you can just build them giga fast, and that's totally fine. If I use our ultimate, it will give us a bunch more energy. I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on it until after Argenti attacks. So let's go ahead and do that. When I say energy, sorry, I mean charge. We're gonna go ahead and basic attack with Tingyun, and now I'm going to skill with our Argenti. Huge. We're at 59. Basically, this should do enough damage to kill someone and get us to 100 charge. So I'm going to use that, and that's going to action forward and buff Argenti, which is going to be real nice. Real nice. So we're going to basic attack. Argenti comes forward. And now we have the true damage buff, and we also have his ultimate. Let's go ahead and pop it. And that's another 500k. That's a lot of true damage too. If you guys are noticing all of that, then we skill, and let's do it again. Mem's buffs do stay up for quite a bit, which is nice. I'm really glad that it's not a one-turn thing, because that actually makes Remembrance MC pretty dang good, and we are just dishing out a ridiculous amount of damage right now. This is actually crazy. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do this. We are unfortunately out of Tingyun buff, so that was a misplay of me to press that button, but we're just gonna ignore that because I already told you guys the deal. I'm gonna go ahead and ult with Ting Yun just to get this out of the way. So if we gain any energy, we don't have to worry about that. All right, now we can skill our Genti, and now we can ult with them again. So hopefully not gonna be losing as much there, but we did already misplay massively. Once 1 million damage, which is, you know, our Genti moment. He is in pure fiction. All right, we've got 55 charge and our Genti is about to go. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna skill with our Genti, and then I'm going to use ult to basically bring our Genti forward one more time. As long as you're playing this super safe, you can basically ensure that your buff is almost always up, and that, well, actually no, not even almost always. You can ensure that it's always up, and that you can actually bring characters' action forward fairly frequently. So that's what we're gonna do. Our Genti goes again, and we ult again. Our Genti moment, man. It's good stuff. All right, this guy's up. And we're just gonna Argenti again. Why not? Why not? Because we have our ultimate immediately because of the buff. 1.1 mil once again. And now we're on the third wave. Again, I misplayed a little bit. I think we could have killed that sooner, but that's okay. We're just gonna basic attack here. Unfortunately, we do only have one more attack with Argenti, but we don't have a lot of skill. Let's go ahead and just skill to be safe, because we may get an action forward here soon. We don't have Ho-Ho up, but I think we'll survive. It's all just going to be a matter of like how much damage we're taking to each character. So I always feel like it's a little better to play it safe, but we'll skill with Ho-Ho next turn for sure. Okay, so we're going to buff the energy of Argenti, give him that massive damage buff as well. All right, now Remembrance MC gets to take the stage once again. We're going to go in basic attack. And literally as soon as that ultimate is up, honestly, I'm not even sure I want to press it. And yeah, this is where you get into a little bit of a predicament because we have 74 charge on Remembrance MC right now. And we get 40 charge if we use our ultimate, but also it's possible we do just get this to 100 soon and we don't need to use the ultimate just yet. So we'll find out kind of what happens here. Them's going to attack. Now finally we can heal in Ho-Ho. Oh my gosh, pretty close. So now the downside is that we are going to for sure be missing out on the Ting Yun buff for the next Argenti turn. But one thing that we can do right now is use Ho-Ho ult to make sure we get our like as much energy as possible and potentially 2 ultimates in within that buff before we have to worry about re-upping it because it's still within Argenti's turn. So we're gonna go again. Boom, we have our ultimate again. And yeah, there's just kind of a lot of like thinking that you want to do. His turn's still not over, by the way. So we're gonna ult again. Oh man, 1.6 mil that time. Jeez. All right, and just for fun, or just because we can, we're gonna go ahead and use Remembrance MC ult now to get 77 charge. Basic attack. And then when Ting Yun comes back up, we can buff Argenti. Thank goodness. Just gotta hope we don't get to 100 charge before them, which it doesn't look like we will. If we basic attack here, we should be okay. Should only get us to 99. Oh my gosh. All right, we're good. We are good. That was a close one though. It was very close to getting that action forward without having the Ting Yun buff, but we are chilling. So now we're gonna action forward. Very nice. Not basic attack, ultimate with Argenti. 600k, we go again. 420k, we go again. Pure Fiction's such a satisfying game mode because they just have such low HP and there's so many enemies. You could just keep going. You just keep going in on them. It's crazy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and ult just to get that extra charge since we're right there. Basic attack, and then we're going to do basic attack on Ting Yun as well. Ho-Ho's gonna run out, but that's okay. We're just gonna start healing again. And then we can actually almost Ho-Ho ultimate once again, but that's all gonna depend on if we take damage from this guy. I don't think we're gonna get it, but let's find out. Let's just see. It all depends if the next enemies coming in do end up damaging us in the same way. Nope, and that's going to be it. So honestly, not my best showcase. I did just run a showcase with Sunday where I got 39.4. Keep in mind the content got significantly harder, but as long as you're getting 30k, that's fine, right? Because 30k per side, you're good to go. And guys, that was with a mostly free-to-play setup. Of course, we did have Ho-Ho, but I was going ahead and foregoing Sunday for that, which is totally a viable option that will also batter your Argenti as well. So that is what Remembrance MC does, and honestly they're a lot of fun to play with because I feel like we finally returned to decision making in HSR rather than following a static rotation where everything just goes and goes and goes. Now you actually have to be paying attention to your gauge and knowing when to ult if you actually want to make sure that you're doing the most damage possible, which you saw even I was misplaying there. So honestly, a really fun unit, all things considered, and very, very strong. And she gets even stronger with Eidolons, which you can actually see here. Now, these are all going to be available in 3.0. So you can activate every single one of these in the 3.0 patch. You don't have to wait for them to come out later, which is going to be so nice because this is a unit you're 100% going to want to use. Now, first off, Eidolon 1 is so good. So good. Basically, it increases the crit rate of allies that are targeted by Mem's support ability by 10%. This is a 320 crit value. You absolutely want to run Remembrance MC with this. Honestly, you just want to get most of these before you go, but E6 is a little bit unimportant compared to the rest of these, in my opinion. It also makes it so that if you have targeted someone that has another memo sprite, that it will also take effect on that memo sprite. So basically everyone's getting the value there. It is giga value for summons. E2 is going to be, honestly, I think this is mostly for Aglaya, if I had to guess. This makes it so that when ally memo sprites take action, you get 8 more energy to Trailblazer, which means that you get more charge more quickly. So Remembrance MC can work with characters that are not memo sprite users. However, it is going to be very good to use them with memo sprite users. E3 is going to be a skill and talent level up and memo sprite talent level up +1. But I actually think E3 is a lot of value. And the reason is because if you go over here to the trace screen, which looks a little different, the memo sprite talent is going to increase the max crit damage that you can give, which is really important. And the same thing applies to E5, which is going to improve Memo Sprite's skill. Then afterwards gives you even more true damage multipliers. So you 100% want to get at least up to E5. I didn't even talk about E4. E4 basically just makes it so you can use this character, Remembrance MC, with Acheron, Fei Xiao, and any other character that doesn't use a normal ultimate gauge, that doesn't have max energy. So funny enough, Remembrance MC is actually good with Fei Xiao, which is not what I expected at all. Mem just gets 3% charge, and the multiplier of true damage is additionally increased by 6%. So basically, big buffs. You get to use them with characters that don't have max energy, and that's pretty good. And lastly, this is why this one's not super important. The ultimate's crit rate is set at 100%. Your Remembrance MC is going to add a little bit of damage, but their damage is kind of negligible compared to the damage that your main damage dealer is going to be doing. This isn't ultimate crit rate for anyone else. This is just Remembrance MC. So your ult is always going to crit and you have really high crit damage. So you're going to do a decent amount of damage, but it's not going to be like super game changing. That's probably a more negligible one. But again, I would recommend just get them all because they're all free. Now, as far as other light cones are concerned, the Battle Pass light cone is disgusting for DPS that have memo sprites, but you're not necessarily going to need it on Remembrance MC because Remembrance MC is able to take full use of the craftable one, which is disgusting as well. Basically you get 24% crit damage at S5, which you're going to be able to get for free because you can craft it. And then whenever your memo sprite targets another ally, all the allies that were targeted also get a damage bonus for 3 turns. So this is basically handcrafted for Remembrance MC, which is kind of cool because this guy's, I don't know if you guys see that, but on the art, it's basically HSR Kevin. And then, you know, it works perfectly with like Stell and stuff like that. I don't know. I just think that's a really cool callback. Also, Miday's back there. So, you know, he's hot and stuff. Good light cone art, guys. Make more of these. Technically, if you're like giga broke and can't craft this, you can use Shadow Burn, which is going to be a new 3-star light cone that you can get. But again, I would recommend just get Victory in a Blink. This is something that's going to massively help you on Remembrance MC. And then for other relics, I just use Von Walk to make sure we go first, but we are pretty fast. We do have 166. I recommend just getting anything with energy regen, so that way you can get more charge more quickly. This can also include other sets that give you energy regen. Remembrance MC is ice type, so if you have an ice DPS, you can use the Penacony set, or you can use Von Walk like I'm using now. But honestly, even Broken Keel is fine. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also just give her like other speed sets, like if you want to mix 2-2. That's totally fine as well. But okay, so we've used Remembrance MC. I've shown you what they do. I've shown you how to build them, what they can use. When is it actually worth building them in a team, and who are they good with? Well, as I mentioned before, Remembrance MC has a lot of value with summons, especially with Eidolons, but also Remembrance MC is just good with characters that have really high energy costs. And that includes Argenti, who, as you know, his ultimate has quite a lot of max energy. It goes up to 180. So he can almost do full true damage, which is awesome. But keep in mind, guys, every time you use someone's ultimate, you are generating 5 energy back for them, which is half a charge for Mem. Every 10 energy is 1 charge. So every 1 energy is 0.1 charge, which means if you have characters that are generating a lot of energy and using their ultimate very frequently, which can hurt other enemies and generate more energy for you, that's even better, right? So Serval is actually an example of someone who works with the Herta, and I explained this in my Herta video as well. But by using Passkey, you get 12 extra energy on skill with Serval, which puts the skill energy gain at 42, which means you're actually getting 4 charge on Mem, 4.2 charge, rather than just the 3. And on top of that, you're getting more ults, which is more energy back from both kills and from the actual ultimate regen. Also, the Herta gets a lot of value from Remembrance MC. She has a 220 energy cost, which means that she actually gets full true damage. That is up to a 50% true damage multiplier, which means that if she does 1 million damage, she's doing 1.5 million damage, which is disgusting. Yunli is up here too. Yunli actually gets a lot of value because, one, the action forward just gives you more opportunities to attack, because you can build her without speed and just let her go forward and get some more energy. She actually ults fairly frequently, and her ults usually land her kills. So character like Yunli gets a lot of value from action forward characters, but she also gets a lot of value from spending her ult and gets a lot of energy back from landing those kills with a really high damage parry. So great character to pair with Remembrance MC as well. The only downside is that, of course, these are some older units. Obviously, the newer DPS, if you guys have followed trends, tend to do a little bit more. And that, combined with the fact that new endgame content has basically just buffed up the ever-living heck out of the HP on enemies, is going to make it a little bit more difficult for you to clear in reasonable amounts of times with these characters. But as you just saw, Argenti was fine. We hit 30k, and before I almost hit 40k. It's just a matter of whether or not you're willing to try. So this is the example team that I would use if you're using like Yunli or something, and Sunday can be replaced with Tingyun for free-to-play relatability. The main thing is you just want to funnel as much energy gain into these characters as possible. Yunli can use their ultimate very frequently, and by funneling a ton of energy in, you're getting a ton of charge, which gives you more opportunities to action forward, and it kind of just snowballs. And the same thing applies to Argenti. Like I said, we can use Tingyun here if you want to be more free-to-play friendly. And Huoho is getting a massive buff from Remembrance MC because getting 20% of energy filled on honestly any character is going to be a lot of charge. Every single character is going to be a lot of charge, and the Herta, 20% of the Herta is a lot of energy, guys. If you want to see how Remembrance MC plays with the Herta, check out my Herta first impressions because I showed that team there. But yeah, really strong character. We're kind of just waiting for new summons to come out, so that way, or new Remembrance characters with Memo Sprites to come out to really find where this character can take them to the next level. But overall, Remembrance MC is dope. Very high value unit, like insanely high value. And I'm sorry to say it, guys, you're probably going to put away Harmony MC for a while to take out Remembrance MC for this upcoming meta. She is way too good to ignore. He or she is way too good to ignore, and I was blown away. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. I will catch you guys in the next one. I have like a ton more HSR videos to make, and it's gonna keep me real busy, but my full guides will be out soon alongside some other advice for the upcoming patch. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.